It's Hard-Boiled Greg here. It's garage day. It's actually new bike day. Just picked up the CFMoto Ibex 450 yesterday. I'm gonna be doing some updates to it. In the garage here we have Ethan with his Triumph Scrambler 400X. Also over here we have my Scrambler 400X. So, for the Ibex 450 today, I've got this Tusk skid plate. This is their Tusk Easy Glide, I believe, skid plate. And I bought a set of Barkbusters. This time I did the Storm Handguards. I haven't had Storms before. They're a little bigger. So I don't know if they're obnoxiously big, because on all my other bikes so far, I run the VPS Handguards, which I've liked. These give a little more protection on them. So we're gonna try them out and see how those go. One thing I like about the Tusk skid plate versus others I've seen online is this thing's pretty heavy duty. Not only is it heavy duty, but even compared to the CFMoto skid plate you can buy. I mean, this one has this upper piece here. It will cover part of here. I've seen a lot of people put aftermarket skid plates on, but then they're putting on the secondary piece here. And in a lot of cases, I've seen where that secondary piece interferes with the high fender. I have ordered the high fender that's going to go on here, but the Tusk, what I like about it is the coverage. It goes pretty deep as well. So you can see on the stock skid plate here, I mean, it just barely goes. It doesn't even cover the very end of the case here. But this Tusk one will go back further. And I like that it has this material on here for gliding over, instead of gouging your aluminum, just gliding over. I shouldn't say glide, but that's what they call it, over rocks and such. So we're gonna put that skid plate on. We're gonna put the Barkbuster wraparound handguard on. I also have on order some upper engine protection bars. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do the lower yet, but definitely gonna do the upper. So we're gonna get started on that. So the instructions on this look pretty basic. It just comes with a little bag of screws here. It comes with this little bracket, 1 page of instructions. Okay, we're gonna get started here. It says in the installation instructions, note, loose manufacturing tolerances have been noticed in the tube structure the skid plate is bolting to. Bar clamp spreaders and locking pliers can be used to help hold the tube structure in the correct place during installation. Interesting. But first steps, remove the OEM skid plate. So we'll go ahead and remove the OEM skid plate. All right, there we go. Looks like we're sporting a 5mm. Okay, it was 5mm hex to get off the sides. Looks like the front plate here and the sides are 13mm. One, two, three, four. Looks like there's 4 of them. All right, let's take the 4 of these off. I can see what they're talking about here is these bars aren't super thick, right? And I can see that once you take the skid plate off with these 4 bolts, I can see how these can move a little. Not quite. Okay, stock skid plates off. That thing is, I smoke ribs in aluminum foil that thick. Loosely install the rear bracket to the skid plate using an M6 by 20mm Torx head bolt. So this is, on the skid plate, you're supposed to take this bracket, and it says it's not symmetrical. So you can see, well maybe you can't see, the shadow's right there. But there is an L right there on the bracket. And what you do is you take that M6 by 20mm Torx head bolt and you thread it from underneath the skid plate, because underneath the skid plate there's actually a little indented hole here where that bolt goes in. And then the bracket itself here is threaded. So it's going to be threaded enough through that, and you're supposed to attach it loosely so that you've got some play when you start to put it underneath the bike. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you have the OEM skid plate off. You had 2 hex bolts on each side here that did the little plastic pieces. And then we had 2 nuts on there, bolts on this side, and then 2 on the other side that we mounted the skid plate on. So we've got those off. We're going to start to hang the Tusk plate on there now. Okay, so I've got the front 2 just loosely connected to the frame here. Now you're supposed to take on the back side under the frame. You've already got these bolt holes under the frame here. There was nothing connected to these before, and so that's where this bracket on the Tusk skid plate goes. I'm not sure if the brackets go over the outside or on the inside of these 2. It's looking like probably the outside, and this is where that offset of the bracket comes in. So yeah, it looks like, okay, I was able to push that up. There wasn't too much finagling that I had to do. And I think I'm supposed to use 2 of the 8x20 millimeter. So these bigger ones on here. We can look at this side. That bracket comes, you probably can't see that here. Under here. Gotta line that up with the hole there. Get these bolts in. If I can do that. Oh, this one's off a little. There we go. Okay, get that just on there a little bit. We'll do the other side. All right, holes right here. Push on this a little bit to get that in place. Okay, not too bad. Okay, we're not going to put that on tight yet. So it should be right here. Looks like there's a hole on each side here. Okay. 8. One on that side. Should be an equivalent right here. I don't have good enough light to see. There we go. I can see the hole. So I'm just having to push a little bit on the plate here with my hands to bring that up to where I can get this Torx bolt in there a little bit. Okay. Okay, so far at this point, with regards to those, the bigger of the bolts, the M8 by 20 millimeters, we've got a pair of them down here. So there's one here, one on the other side, one here, one on the other side, one on the front, and one on the other side of the front. So that's 6 of them, which is the total that this comes with. Okay, now use the 4 M6 by 20 millimeter bolts to bolt the remaining holes to the sides of the skid plate. And that shows. So these are basically going to go into the 4 holes where the plastic pieces of the original skid plate assembly were. So 1, 2 here, and 2 on the other side. So we'll get those on here now. Okay, I got them all. The only one I had to fight a little was the very last one. And I just had to kind of push the skid plate with my hand a little bit this way to get it to line up better. It was one of those situations where it's almost going in, but it's just off, just enough where it never really grabs. So now it says basically to tighten all of the bolts up and adjust it so that it fits nice and snug. So we're gonna tighten those all up now. We got them all. Of note, even though there's 2 different sizes of bolts on here, with the kit that it came with, both the M6 by 20 millimeter and the M8 by 20 millimeter Torx head, they all use the T30 Torx bit head that I used for all of them, so it's uniform. So we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on each side. Oh, I forgot to do the final touches on the tightening on the bottom one under here, which I think is actually smaller. Let's see, do that same, oh no, the T30 fits that one as well. Nice. Just got to tighten that up. Okay, that's it. Man, if all skid plates were that easy. Of note, I didn't watch any videos or read any other instructions before attempting this, other than the ones that came with the Tusk skid plate itself here. One thing to note though, hopefully I don't have to take this off for oil changes, which I might have to. I mean, the drain plug you can easily get to here. However, the filter is in there. Might be able to get the filter off. It'll make a mess in there. I think I did read on a forum somewhere where someone said, yeah, they changed it and they were able to pull this off, but it made such an oily, greasy mess inside the skid plate that they decided the next time they were just going to take this thing off. I really don't want to have to take that off every time I do an oil change. But that's it. We're done. This is skid plate complete. We are done with the installation. Like I mentioned before, I wish all skid plates were this easy to put on, because this was pretty easy. So what I want to do is just show here kind of the coverage that I was talking about before. So you'll notice that it has this nice piece that comes up on the pipes. I mean, it doesn't go all the way up, but it goes up enough. I mean, it provides some decent protection there. And then also what I was mentioning, so it's got good side protection here. But what it has really nice compared to some skid plates is, remember, the stock skid plate didn't even make it all the way in the edge of the engine case right here. But the Tusk one comes all the way back, almost to the linkage here. So it's got some good coverage, good solid aluminum. I like it. All right, I've been out here in the garage a good part of the day today, and my Ibex is looking better. So earlier, put the skid plate on, and then later, I didn't go through all the steps of this. I did the Barkbusters. I mentioned I had the Barkbusters and the Storm Handguards. The Storm Handguards don't look too bad. I don't mind them. They're a little bigger. You see what they look like versus, for example, the VPS. Now, I will say one thing as far as installation is concerned. Installation on this was very simple. There was one person, I was watching a video online, that had an Ibex like this, and they were doing the Barkbusters with the Storm. And they seem to be a little bit confused because the instructions on this, they comes with a couple of extra spacers. 2 different sizes. And it specifically states that if you have the CFMoto, the 800 MT, or whatever it is, the 800 model, you have to use these 2 spacers, and one goes on each side, and it specifies which side. But it doesn't give any specific instructions to use them for the 450, the Ibex 450 or the 450 MT. So I didn't use the spacers, didn't really need to. The thing I like about the VPS handguards versus the Storm is that all the mounting of it is done on the outside. There's nothing you have to do on the inside. So you've got, for example, you've got a mounting point on the outside here, and you've got one right here, but you don't have to put on anything in here. With the Storm, however, you do. So it only has a couple of secure points, One is a screw right here. The screws directly into the aluminum. They have a hole there for you. But the other part is this piece right here. And this side was really easy to put on because you've got good clearance from your lever on this side, right? But this side was kind of a beast because the brake lever extends further than the clutch lever. And so where these screws are, particularly the top one, that lever is right in the way. But to get to that screw there, I had to be at a little bit of an angle. If I would have loosened the whole lower bar and stuff, I could have dropped that and gotten to it easier. But if you've already got everything positioned the way that you want it, and you try to put these on, you're going to run into that problem. Now I just took a little offset screwdriver and did it. But anyway, it was more of a pain than I wanted it to be, and I kind of don't like the mounting of these handguards versus the VPS as much. Now you do have more coverage, and we'll see if I like the additional coverage that the Storm offers. We also put on the Tusk kickstand extender. So that's on. And that's about it. Hopefully soon I'll be getting my high front fender and my engine guards, upper engine guards. And we're looking good. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments.